Hi, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and gorilla fans all over the world. My name's Robbo, and this is Gorilla TV. And tonight we have the absolute pleasure of having John Handles Hanley on Gorilla Talk. He played Masters for the Mighty Gorillas when they first started back in the day. He's a spokesperson for MND and Me Foundation, and he's one of the most inspirational blokes I've ever met. Handles, welcome to Gorilla Talk.
Thanks, Robbo. Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on tonight. And I was actually driving in tonight, listening to your music, and I was very excited to have a chat with you. And selfishly, I just wanted to have a beer with you, to be honest with you. So you mind if I pour you a beer?
That'd be lovely. Thank you.
I know you love a beer.
I might do it in the stubby if that's all right, rather than the glass.
Right, you have it in the stubby? Yeah, sure.
Yep,
not a drama. I'll have it in the stubby too. Now, John, there's lots that I want to talk to you about. First of all, mate, I'd like to just find out a bit about your family and where you grew up.
So I'm 50. What am I this year? 55. Grew up in Brisbane, born and bred, raised over at Geebung. One of 5 kids. I'm the 4th out of the 5. Had a great childhood. Mum and Dad drove us everywhere. I played rugby league in the early days, so over at North, so Bashup Park.
Yep.
And then I went to St Columban's over at Albion. That's where I started playing rugby union. So Aussie Rules wasn't my first game.
No, I know you. No, you started your AFL career very late. So,
37 was my first game.
So rugby league was mainly the sport that you played. Was there anything else you played?
So rugby league for the first sort of under 7s, under 8s, then and a little bit through primary school. But as soon as I went over to St Columban's, the sport was rugby union. So that's where I started playing rugby. So I played my first game of rugby union when I was 9 and finished playing when I was, I think I was 28 when my last game of rugby union.
So St Columban's, what were they? The Bears, the Tigers?
No, they would just say that was the Christian Brothers College.
The school, yeah.
The school, yeah. So we were the Eagles over there.
You were the Eagles?
We were the Eagles, the Mighty Eagles. So, but did lots of other things over there, a bit of volleyball, cricket, basically had a crack at anything, but never excelled at anything. But but rugby union was my love. So and because I was a little bit smaller when I started, they threw me in the front row as hooker, and that's where I stayed for my whole rugby
league career,
rugby union career. So it was never got out of there, and then ended up down here and.
A little while later. I'll get to that in a sec. There's so much I want to talk to you about. Tell me what a young John Hanley was like at high school.
My mum would say I was spirited.
Spirited?
You can't say they've got the devil in me anymore, but I was spirited.
A risk taker, John?
But I was, I wouldn't say a risk taker, but I'd have been in amongst everything. I was quite small at high school. When I finished senior, I was only probably about 5'5" and about 65 kilos. So I didn't grow really until
still much bigger than me.
Until after school, and then sort of just hit a growth spurt and got a little bit bigger, and kept going. So I put it down to too much of Lisa's good cooking and too much rum back in the day.
What was your first occupation job back in the day, mate?
I didn't want to go to uni. I didn't want to study. I'd had enough of learning, I guess. So I did the whole Bank Johnny thing, but I ended up at AMP. So working in a clerical roles at AMP.
Yep.
7 years there, sort of progressing through the ranks, and unfortunately got retrenched from there back in 93, I think it was, and then really basically fell into the liquor industry, and that's where I was for the rest of my working days up until 2014 when I had to finish work.
So. Now, Rado was telling me, or Kenny was telling me last night that you're a wine rep.
I was, amongst many roles.
Did you sell more or drink more?
Look, it's I had a few. So it wasn't when I was selling brands like Penfolds and Wolf Blass and some of the other really premium brands, it wasn't hard to bring work home, and Lisa didn't mind too much either when I brought work home. So when I finished work, she was a bit cranky that she actually had to go and start buying wine. So,
Now, we've obviously mentioned Lisa a couple of times.
yeah.
Lisa is your beautiful wife. Now, tell me, when did you meet your love of your life? And I'm not talking about beer or
Yeah,
rum.
no,
I'm talking about Lisa.
Funnily enough, I've met her first in senior. Sort of mutual friends were going out. We met back then, but we didn't actually start going out till about 12 months later when we started meeting up a little bit at 18th birthday parties and that sort of thing. So, funny story, she was 18, I was 17. And on our first date, or second date maybe, she took me to a hotel. So I was underage drinking in at the Regatta over in Upton.
I'm sure that would
Yeah,
have bothered you, John.
no, it was all good. So yeah, so that was 86, and we've been together since then, and we got married in 1990. So 33 years in next month. It is. So
Wow, it's a long time.
yeah.
And where did you have your wedding?
Where I grew up actually, so Dibna's over at Aspley. So that's where I did my primary school up until grade 5, and that's when I went over to St. Columban's. Yeah, got married over there, and local, local church, I guess. And we sort of stayed there, and the boys both got christened there when when they were born. So, yeah.
Where did you and Lisa go for your honeymoon?
We went. Funny story.
Tell me, I want to
Oh well, we had we'd saved up all this money. We were supposed to go to Thailand and Phuket and Singapore for our honeymoon, and one day it was raining, and I just had decided to have a sickie from work, and I thought, I'm going to go and have a look at some real estate around the place, and went to a real estate agent, took me out to this block out at Albany Creek.
Yep.
And it was one of the last blocks in the street, and it was a steal. So it was owned by a guy up north who thought he wanted to make a killing on it. But back then he didn't realise what a killing was. So we didn't.
What street was it? Because that's where Michelle and I first met, was in Albany Creek together.
Guildford Crescent. So it's sort of just off Old Northern Road.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Not far from the pool.
The pool. Yeah.
So Lisa came home and I said, I'll change your plans and I'll go to Thailand. I've spent all the money. We're buying a block of land. So we did that.
You'd spent all the money, or Lisa had spent
it? No, I'd spent it on putting it towards the things, towards the land. But we eventually went on a honeymoon 5 years later. So we still went on a honeymoon. We ended up going up, driving up to Mackay and Townsville and seeing some relatives who couldn't make it down for the wedding. So that was nice.
Yeah, no, lovely, man. Now, it's fair to say that you started your AFL career pretty late.
Pretty late, yes. Yeah.
30, 37,
37,
before.
Yeah.
Now, I coached Masters a little while ago and played Masters. What was Masters like for you back then?
It was kick and giggle. It was I just love being back in a team sport. It was a bit of a motley crew back then. There was a mixture of guys who'd just finished playing senior footy. There was guys who'd come from all sorts of backgrounds. So I was rugby union. There was hockey players. There was guys who'd never kicked a ball in life of any sort. When the opportunity came in talking to Beefy or Kev Weldon, he said, "I'm putting the band back together, if you like." So we all jumped on board, and it was fantastic that it was just training one night a week, a few beers after training, and then we play every second week. So
did Kenny Radar take you aside and give you some tips? And Lisa also, I realised from reading you'd say the WILSTON GRANGE Bible, the history book, played in the women's first team in 1980.
She did.
So she would have had some tips.
She started 86 and 87, so she was playing when we first started going out. But my first game that I actually watched was down here and watching Ken run around in the seniors. So, and Lisa kept saying to me, you should go and have a kick at the Gorillas, because I wasn't doing anything at that stage. And I thought, I haven't tried this before. I'm not gonna get into it. And So watched Ken for, all those years, 87 back then, the QAFL used to play as the curtain raiser for the Brisbane Bears down at Carrara.
Yep.
So many times I've been down to Carrara watching him down there, and Lisa kept pushing me, saying, you should go and have a kick, go and have a kick. And Ken said, yeah, go on, there's a third division team, basically anyone gets a run in there. It's not very highly skilled or anything. So, but
you would have been able to tackle, I think.
I got into many issues on the field because of my tackling style for rugby style and
white line fever.
It was just what I knew. So, and I wasn't happy with guys sort of putting their arms on me while I was, while they're trying to defend. I thought, this doesn't happen in rugby. You don't get sort of held on to. So retaliated a few times. I got into
so you took it on your own.
I did, yes. And, so I gave away quite a few frees. But so Beefy had to put me aside and say, no, you can't do this. And luckily there was quite a few guys who just finished playing senior footy.
Yeah.
So they were able to
take you under the wing.
Take me under the wing and tell me what I couldn't do. I could kick. I was because when I played rugby, I was the kicker for our.
Oh, okay. So that would have helped.
So I always had a good kick, but it was just the intricacies of the game and
so the little the nuances.
Yes. No, it was all right.
No, fantastic, man. Now, sorry, John, this is very ad hoc here. Now, I mentioned earlier that you're the spokesperson for MND Foundation and me. That's obviously something that's very, very close to your heart. Can you share a bit of your personal story?
I guess it was I was still playing down here in 2012, and it was actually a game that Mum and Dad came down to watch mid-season there. So, and my dad actually said to my mum, he'd noticed that my gait was a bit off when I was running, and I'd noticed that I was starting to fall over for no reason, that sort of thing. So I was losing balance at that stage, and it was towards the end of 2012. They thought I had an episode, and they thought it was a stroke, but it was actually the start of the whole thing starting. MND's a really hard disease to diagnose. They've basically got to eliminate everything else before they can land on a diagnosis. They thought I had MS for a while, early onset Parkinson's, some autoimmune stuff. So tried a few different therapies and infusions, that sort of thing, to see if it was helping, and it didn't. And this went on for about 3.5 years, and then it was mid-2016 when they finally gave Lisa and I the news that it was MND. So
you're 46?
47. 47, yeah. So and it's funny. It's by that stage it was you start to think, is this all in my head? Because they couldn't tell me what I had, and so when it finally came around to say yes, my neuro said yes, it's motor neuron disease. Lisa and I actually both had a little bit of a chuckle in his office, and he said, this is very strange that you're laughing about this, because we knew what MND was, and no one lives through MND. When we just said, no, it's not. We're not happy about it, but the fact that we finally have a name for what it is.
So you were quite comfortable just knowing what it was, even though you knew.
Yeah. Okay. And I'd funnily enough, I worked with a guy who ended up having MND. We actually sat across from each other at work in the liquor industry, and so I'd been leaning on him a little bit for some advice, and he was hoping like hell it wasn't MND, knowing what it does, and but I sort of I started developing this little network of people that I could talk to, and by the time the diagnosis came around, I was completely comfortable with it. The boys, Jackson and McLean, they knew that it was most likely going to be that, so it wasn't going to be a big shock to them. We were told that the average life expectancy of an MND patient's about 27 months. So I thought, but they can't tell when it starts. and I'm just so fortunate that, or lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it. I've just gone 7 years living with it.
It's fantastic, John.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's all down to luck. I've met some incredible people through the whole trip of MND. Had to wave goodbye to quite a few. Made some really good friendships. Some people last, longer than what I've lasted, 7 years, and some people don't last more than a few weeks, depending on how aggressive it is. So, yeah, mate. So I just keep on rolling, and and from the start, the M&D and Me Foundation were there, offering sort of support. They don't receive any government assistance at all. They're just a foundation that was started by another M&D patient who, when he was diagnosed, just saw a gap in the care process. This was all before NDIS or anything, so this was back in 2011. So we just got in contact with them, and and I've developed all these great friendships. They're like my second family. It's a family I don't really want to be a part of, but like any family, you just you roll with the punches, and you support each other. So and so here I am 7 years later, and still going. I do lots of things for them. Speaking,
I think lots of things is almost an understatement, John. You do a hell of a lot. To be honest, mate, when I close my eyes and I think of you, although we don't catch up a lot, I think the good thing about social media these days is you can see what people are doing, and I've seen what you've done and the raising awareness that you've done, and I'll get to the music in a second because that is a massive part of it. It's incredibly inspiring, and I don't know if there's any truth in the fact that having such positivity that you do, having such a smile on your face, and being so headstrong and doing what you do, maybe there's some truth in that maybe that extends period of time. I don't know, but you're an incredibly inspirational human being.
Thanks, mate. I get inspired by a lot of other people too, mate. Whether it's your average Joe Blow on the street who's battling something else. They're the people who inspire me. The people up at the hospital, the researchers, trying to find a cure for that's where I get my inspiration from too. So I'm just fortunate, that I've been. I should have lost my voice years ago, but it's hanging in there. So, and I've got a big philosophy: if you've got air in your lungs, you should be using it.
Yeah, I heard that on one of the interviews you had, and absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, I've met a lot of couples. I've met some couples that have great relationships. I've met some, and you probably have too, that are not so good.
Yeah.
But yours and Lisa's is truly extraordinary. Your love and support that you have for one another is something. It's just so beautiful to witness. To be honest with you, mate. Can you share a bit of how important that is? And I'm not trying to tear you up.
No. It's oh man, I just love it. It's as simple as that. We go through the good, we go through the bad, we go through the tears, we go through the laughter. We've got two amazing sons, Jackson McLean. They both played footy down here. And like I was saying before, family, we're there just to support each other. And Lisa's just, we've had some challenges, some other health challenges in our lives and that sort of thing. And so this was just another thing that we had to, face front on, and and deal with it. So it's
Where do you think you and Lisa both find your incredible drive? Because I know you do. Lisa runs marathons and pushes you in the marathons. Does it come from maybe a sporting background and having that get up and just keep going?
Yeah, I like when I was down at the footy club here, and when I had to stop playing at the beginning of 2013, when I was, I was having issues in running and that sort of thing. I still wanted to remain part of a community, and this club here, they've been part of my life since 1986, really, when I first started going out with Lisa, and her dad Lionel, who was a stalwart down here. He was a really driven bloke. So I think Lisa gets a lot from him. I see a lot of her dad in him.
Yeah.
And I get mine from mum and dad. They would, back in the day, raising 5 kids under 10 years old, and then shipping us off all to different sports and that sort of thing. And they always did it with a smile on their face. Money was never great, so they just but they just ploughed through it, and they did what had to be done. Yeah. So I think that's where I got a little bit of it from. But also, when all this happened, and I got with the M&D and Me Foundation, I just decided to thought, well, as I said before, you got air in your lungs, keep using it, and if there's something I can do to help, then I'm going to do it. So, and it just so happened, there's through that, we had our first fundraiser down the club down here, and we raised $32,000, from the I think there was about nearly 400 people down here, and that's just the community down here that they all came together. So Jackson's mates, McLean's mates, Lisa's mates, my mates. So it was and that's where I get inspiration from. All these people just willing to come together and help a cause.
Yeah, look, in the women's space, I'm aware of Denise Kemp, Ron Kemp's partner.
Yeah,
Ron Kemp obviously started the female side down here. She's obviously struggling with it too. So there's lots of people out there that are dealing with it. And look, now music.
Music.
Now, John, I've been listening over the last couple of weeks when I knew I was having you on, and mind you, everyone that I said when I was having John Hanley on, mate, their face lit up.
Yeah,
they did. They were like, wow, he's such an incredible guy. The Peter Butlers and the Bruceys and those guys, mate. Tell us about the incredible voice that you do have, and you're still able to sing.
To use it,
it's quite amazing, really. And you do have an incredible voice. I know you're a very humble guy, and you'll say that you don't, but you do.
It's thanks for saying that. It's again, I've been blessed in that I've been able to hang on to my voice. It's obviously a bit raspy, my talking voice, but my singing voice is still okay because my diaphragm is hanging in there.
Fantastic. It's not just okay.
It's all right. So and when you talk to my respiratory physician and my neuro and the researchers, the fact that my diaphragm is still able to support my lungs is probably a reason why I'm sort of living longer than most as well, in that my lungs are, they're getting a workout all the time. So whether it's I'm recording songs or I'm singing at home or wherever, I'm always singing. So it doesn't always please Lisa, but and it's through this, when I got diagnosed, I was always going to use this as an opportunity to do something. So whether it's doing raising awareness, or through this whole thing, through this M&D diagnosis, I've ended up on TV shows, like the ABC recording studio, where
Project.
I was able to, the project, some other interviews that I've done, went down to the Big Freeze a couple of years ago and sang to some people at the Big Freeze.
How was that experience?
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm glad I wasn't out in the field. It was so cold, but it was their big luncheon that they do. Got to meet some incredible people down there.
Did you get to meet Neil?
I've met Neil before. So just after I was diagnosed, we went to a symposium down in Melbourne and met him there. But that day at the Big Freeze, I had a good chat with his brothers, so which was great. But yeah, it's just it's opened some doors, and it's created this opportunity for me to raise awareness about the disease. I never talk about M&D in particular in the songs. They're more about the first song was about people who might be battling other things too. So whether it's M&D or it's MS or just having some struggles in life. So,
I think obviously knowing you and what you've been going through, listening to your music, you can see that you really sing from the heart, mate.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's a-
you clearly do. And
yeah.
I know the one that you've sung recently about Lisa.
Yeah.
You can hear it
Yeah.
in the music. I often, when I see shows where they say you can really hear the passion, and I sort of didn't understand that, and then I was listening to you, and I'm like, yeah, you can. You can really hear that this guy's passionate about what he does, and he gives it his all, everything.
Well, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it. Give it a red hot crack. So I got to sing about. The boys played in one of the songs. So it was a song about them.
That was Jackson.
Jackson was on drums, and McLean was on the bass. And that was a song called "When You Come Down." It was about them living upstairs, and Lisa and I having to convert our garage downstairs into a little studio apartment, if you like. So it was great that happened. There was a song that I got to record, and the drummer from Powderfinger played on that with us.
Wow.
So so just through a friend, we were. He was.
Your name's dropping there.
Oh, I know. So it was. It's like all these opportunities have come, and the great thing is I've been able to sort of raise a bit of awareness by getting onto sort of some of these TV shows and that sort of thing, and get people talking about M&D.
Was music always a passion?
Oh, yes, yeah. I mean, I've sang in school choirs and that sort of thing ever since I could, talk really. I've always sung, and so whether it was at school choirs or a mass with mum and dad and that sort of, I've always sang, and or if when I came of age at 18, ended up in pubs and that sort of thing.
So that you serenaded Lucy?
Oh no, I would always end up on stage with the band somehow, singing songs.
That's how you won her, didn't you?
Oh, she gets cranky because I sang one night for this beautiful Billy Joel song who she loves, but I dedicated it to my sister.
Oh, not to her.
And she was
mate,
she'll
you'd be dirty
about that. Yeah.
Mate, now obviously we've had the birth of your little grandson. Is that the first?
That's the first.
Very first, mate.
So
little Billy.
I won't lie. That was one of my my little bucket list items that I hope to see was see a grandchild, and that's happened now. So Jackson and his beautiful partner Caitlin, they've had little Billy.
Yep.
He's just over a week old. So
I
love him to bits.
I assume once you get him in your arms, it's hard to
it's
get him back off.
Well, Lisa's the baby hog.
She's the baby hog.
So it's it's just amazing, seeing this happen. So, it was one thing that I really wanted to see before I go, and it's happened. So hopefully McLean one day, and I'm still around to see that too.
Yeah, mate. I think you might be. I've just got a couple of things for you, John.
Oh, righto.
Not very good TV. Now,
just talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. Now, Kenny told me, Raider,
that
you do like beer, but geez, he loves rum.
So
there's a rum for you.
Thank you.
And this is probably more for Lisa, or maybe Lisa likes rum too, but for your grandson.
Some
champagne.
Oh, she'll love that.
She'll love that. Yeah, she'll polish that off. But look, seriously, thank you so much for everything that you've done for the club too. I remember I bumped into Peter Butler during the week, and he said to me, mate, he would put up his hand to do anything to help, to pitch in, to do anything.
Yeah,
and a lot of blokes said that.
I really miss being able to. I had to stop. I was behind the bar for a long time, but I kept dropping stubbies, unfortunately. So it was time to pull up stumps, and then when I stopped driving, I couldn't get down here. So
thank you so much for what you've done for the clubs. Thank you so much for what you do for M&D and raising awareness. You are truly inspirational, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. Thank you.
Good on you, mate.